Hi everyone, Loz here. Well, it's been a while since I made my last video. As you know, I was originally planning on making around one video a month, but I've kind of changed what I've been doing, and I haven't really had anything to talk about, to be honest. So I didn't really feel the need to create any videos. But I feel like finally now, I have enough to put into a video, and that's what I'm going to talk about here in this video. Most of my videos have been much longer than I anticipated, so I'm planning on trying to keep this one quite short, but of course we'll see how that turns out. You may have noticed that I've been uploading some videos completely unrelated to French learning, like these Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro challenge runs, and we'll talk more about that later on in the video as well. The first topic I wanted to talk about is the MIA rebrand to Refold. As I mentioned in the previous video, MIA was effectively dissolved due to a falling out of the founders, and the creator, Matt vs Japan, has effectively rebranded the method to this new site called Refold. I'll put a link to the new site below. The most important part of the site is the roadmap, which I'm on here. It essentially follows the same core philosophy as MIA. I have had a look through this site, and it's very similar to MIA if you did follow MIA. So please do have a look, but it's not that different. I'm still following this method in the way that I'm learning French, but because effectively the old Patreon and the Discord servers has been terminated, they've been shut down. I'm no longer actively subscribing to this method. I did leave the previous one running for a number of years since it was created, just as kind of a thanks to Matt for all the help that he's given me, even though I wasn't really actively taking part in it and I wasn't contributing anymore. I just kind of left it running, but now with the rebrand, he's kind of moved everything over to this new Patreon. It's not using his Patreon anymore, and I haven't resubscribed for the time being, because personally I've kind of got everything that I need to get out of that I feel. I may subscribe at a future point, but I'm not subscribed at the moment. Saying that though, anyone that's interested in getting started with this method, I highly recommend that you sign up on his Patreon. The community there is excellent, they're really helpful. The Discord, at least the way it was for MIA, I assume everything's been copied over to Refold, was excellent. It had loads of great resources and great people to help. And the price is really low. It's well worth the price. So I would, even though I'm not subscribed at the moment, I would recommend anyone go over to this site and to subscribe. So the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is what I've done for the last 3 months. To help with this topic, I've got my Anki Stats up here. So if I go through these stats, if I put this to 1 month, you can see I've done effectively nothing. Let's put it back to 3 months. You can see in these 3 months I've done pretty much no Anki. Like, if you can refer back to my previous results, you'll see that nothing's really changed. I did do a little for the first month, just to kind of keep up with my Anki stats, but I didn't add any new cards, and I haven't added any new cards up until recently for the past 3 months. A few days ago, I worked on getting my outstanding 500 plus Anki reviews back to being reviewed. So you can see I did 219 on that day and 323 on that day, and then today I've basically just been keeping back up with it. So I have caught back up. Catching up with my Anki reviews was actually really enjoyable, and the time went really fast. I think because I built such a strong connection to my cards, I actually didn't get very many wrong, like way less than I thought I would after coming back from not doing it for pretty much 3 months. And pretty much every single card I felt some kind of very deep connection to, and I could pretty much, for nearly all of them, I could pretty much remember the exact moment when I made the card, and I would have the image that I kind of took with most of the cards in my mind. And then when I flipped it over, like, I could see that same image, and I was like, oh yeah, I remembered that. I remember when I made that card from. So that was really powerful, I think, and that helped a lot when I was redoing my Anki reviews. So in the past 3 months, I've done almost no reading and almost nothing of what you might consider like study, what even this method would consider study, like sentence mining content, hunting for I+1 sentences, things like that. However, I wouldn't say that I've stopped using French. I wouldn't say that at all, to be honest. Like French is still very much a part of my life at the moment. If I had to guess, I would say I probably spent an average of 3 to 4 hours a day doing something in French. Like surprisingly, even though I wasn't using Anki and I haven't been reading or like absorbing content, I'd probably say a good estimate is about 3 to 4 hours a day. Maybe even more, but I'll talk about in the next section like what I've been doing. With Anki, I realized that I started to get very burnt out from Anki shortly after making my last video. Pretty much from then onwards, I stopped adding new cards, and I kind of, as you can see, I continued my reviews a little bit and then slowly spaced out until 62 days ago. I just quit Anki completely. So the process of consuming the content, like reading things and hunting for I+1 sentences, is really fun. But turning stuff into Anki cards, even though I had optimized the process somewhat, and it was a fairly pain-free process, started to become a chore. When something starts to feel like study or work, it's very difficult to kind of keep up the pace for a long period of time, and that's what I found with Anki. I could probably do, let's say, about probably 2, maybe 3 at a push hours of actual study, like what I would consider study a day, but anything more than that and I'd burn out pretty rapidly. And with this, like, I was spending 6 to 8 hours a day doing my Anki, so that's where the problem came in. Because I was spending too long doing content for Anki, I burned out pretty quickly, and you can see the results here. This also happened previously. Between my first and second video, something similar happened, but that was more due to the fact that my sleeping pattern was broken rather than burning out, but there probably was a little bit of burning out there as well. What I've been doing instead for the last 3 months doesn't actually sound like study, but it means that I've still been able to spend a lot of time with the language, much more than I would have done had I kept up with the Anki method. I've been immersing myself much more in more live, interactive content than I was before. So previously I did watch some YouTube videos, read some social media and some news in French, and watch some Twitch streams, but the last 3 months, that is basically all that I've done. So my phone and my laptop are in French, and I usually have them running through a VPN that's set to France, so everything on them comes up in French, including obviously all social media and all news. Whenever I do Google searches, things like that, it comes up in French. So it doesn't really give me a choice, like it defaults to French, everything comes up in French. So I did do a similar thing with Japanese quite a long time ago, and that actually didn't work for Japanese. It was more of a hassle than kind of a help, and it caused me to burn out way faster, but for French this time, it's been much easier to adjust, and it hasn't been a burden. And it's actually meant that I've been getting immersion in French much more than I would have done otherwise, because in a lot of cases, like I said, I don't get the choice. I'm very used to my Twitter feed being completely in French now, so whenever I look up topics or go on like the latest news on Twitter, everything comes up in French. And I'll typically do this for probably around an hour a day. I'll go on some kind of social media in French, and I'll just read through everything for about an hour a day, I'd say. The biggest thing, however, that I've been doing is I've been watching streams on Twitch. So Twitch, if you don't know, is like a game streaming platform. I have my Twitch set in French, so all the channels in French appear at the top. And I'll spend many hours a day just hunting through these channels, just watching different live content in French, and it's fantastic. In particular, there's one streamer who's called Postponed, whose stream I'll put in the description. I've been watching his stream pretty much every time that he streams, and I've actually become quite good friends with him and his community in the process. If anyone's learning French and wants to check him out, definitely click on the link and go to his channel. He's very friendly, he's very accommodating. He plays mostly challenge runs, like the Dark Souls challenge run. He typically streams for around 6 to 8 hours a day, usually 5 days a week, sometimes more. Most of the time over the last few months, I would watch pretty much his entire stream, and the parts that I didn't watch, I would catch up on the VOD. This has been really great for Immersion because almost all of his stream is in French. Pretty much all the chat and all of his community is French, so everything is in French. I have been having to write an output in French to be able to communicate with his community. It was very difficult at first, obviously because I haven't been outputting any French at all, due to the using this method. And so it would take me a very long time to kind of write down things in French, even very basic phrases. And obviously I'd make a lot of mistakes and things like that, but slowly over time, like, I've got better and I've started picking up phrases that people in the community use, started copying them, and the more natural way that people speak. And I've learned loads of slang. I've learned loads of new, like, kind of ways that people naturally speak, more like on the conversational side rather than the pre-prepared things that you get from like books and TV shows. And that's been really, really great. Like, I feel like that's improved that side of my French much faster than I would have done it any other way. Now, obviously, I can't understand everything on his stream. There's sections where he'll be speaking about something and I just won't understand, which is fine. But I would say the vast majority I understand, and I find it very easy to watch along while he's playing the games and interact with the people on his stream. He does tend to answer me in English when I write like questions and things to him and write comments and stuff. Even when I'm writing them in French, he does tend to answer me in English, but that's just him being polite, trying to make sure that I understand and that I'm enjoying his stream. But other than that, everything else on his stream is in French, so it's still a fantastic source of immersion. So, like I said, since my Twitch is in French, almost all the content that I consume there is in French, which is great for immersion. I can just click through on any of these channels in French and I can instantly just get immersed in natural live French. If you follow me and you watch some of the videos I've been posting lately, like I've said, I've been doing these challenge runs from the FromSoft games. So I've essentially been trying to beat them without dying. This is all thanks to the French community that I've discovered on Twitch. And I've actually been streaming quite a lot lately, although in English. As part of this, one of the best runners of these games in the world is a French person called Dobby Summer, and he's actually completed a run of all of the Soulsborne games, including Sekiro, kind of back to back without getting hit. He's the only person in the world at the moment that I know of that's done this achievement. And he has a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube channel he has tutorials for each of the games that he's done. They're completely in French and they're quite long. They're like usually 3 to 4 hours long each one. And it's him going in depth on how he does his strategies for the games. And I've watched all of them in order to help me do my challenge runs that I've been doing on my channel. And it's been incredibly helpful, not only for figuring out how to do these strategies, but obviously for improving my French. Because there's kind of a need for me to understand what's going on in the video to be able to perform the strategies that he's describing. So I have a necessity to understand. And so that's the topic that I want to talk about in the next section. So one of the most powerful ways that I've found personally to learn a language, which may sound kind of obvious to most people, but it's been a real kind of game changer to me, is learning through necessity. So what I mean by that is, let's say I want to learn how to play the guitar. So what I do is I load up a YouTube video that teaches me how to play the guitar. To be able to consume this, I need to understand everything the person is saying in depth. Otherwise I might miss something vital, and since typically with most skills, the intermediate and the advanced sections build on the basics, this would cause the whole thing to fall apart if I miss anything vital, even in the earlier stages. If I were to watch this video in another language, I would have to study it intently to ensure that I understand everything clearly to be able to reach my goal of learning to play the guitar. This is essentially what I've been doing with these tutorials from Dobby-sama with the Dark Souls games, and what I was doing previously when playing Ni no Kuni in French. Creating this necessity to understand the content makes the content more enjoyable, at least to me, and it makes the words stick much better as you are pretty much required to understand the meaning to be able to reach whatever goal you're trying to reach, i.e. learning the guitar in this example. You can generate this kind of necessity through reading and consuming podcasts, since you need to understand what's going on to kind of enjoy the story or enjoy the content that you're consuming. But for me, at least, the drive, the kind of necessity is not as clear for me as with like playing games or following tutorials. To create a kind of function or some outside need that the language is fulfilling is kind of the overall secret to learning the language, at least in my opinion. If you're using the language as part of your everyday life, or if it's allowing you to fulfill some extra need, it really doesn't feel like work. And it seems to be, at least to me, an extremely effective method of picking up the language. At the end of the day, I mean, there's a reason why you're learning this language, outside of it just being a hobby, and that's to fulfill some need. So for me personally, that's because my girlfriend is French, and I want to be able to communicate better with her and her family, and whenever I go to France to see her. So this has been great for the last 3 months, and I feel like I've improved my kind of understanding of French quite a lot, actually, as well as I now can output, at least in some limited capacity, while writing. It's still obviously very basic conversational level, but I don't really struggle when I want to say something when it's written down. It takes me a long time, and I still have to occasionally look things up, and I'm still nowhere near close to being able to actually speak French yet, because I can't kind of do it in real time. But it's improving, I feel, and I can go back to kind of focusing more on output when I get much better at input, kind of like how the Refold method describes. However, I feel like I haven't been learning anywhere near the same level of vocabulary that I was when I was doing the pure sentence mining and Anki method that I was doing before. I think I might have come to this epiphany in my last video, but I feel like a nice balance between the two is necessary. And so I've caught up with my long outstanding Anki reviews, as I showed earlier. And my plan is to spend at least a few hours a day doing sentence mining. The rest of the time I'll spend what I've been doing pretty much the last 3 months. So watching Twitch streams, interacting with social media in French, things like that. I feel like this will strike a nice healthy balance between the two, and I stand much less chance of burning out by doing just Anki. But I'll also still be learning words at a decent pace, something that has been severely lacking in the last 3 months. I don't really have any other stats to discuss or any other content that I've consumed. As you can see from my link page, I haven't done anything in the last 3 months, at least in terms of link. I haven't read any new books. I haven't really been keeping track of the things I've been watching and listening to, unfortunately, as it's been very free flow and sporadic, and I've just kind of been consuming whatever I feel like on the day for the last few months. But it will be much more structured this month for my next video. I'm going to go back to the once a month video, and I'm going to keep on schedule this time. My plan initially was to get back to reading Harry Potter on Link, and also reading anything that takes my fancy on there. I will be hunting for interesting podcasts to listen to, and will continue to immerse myself in Twitch streams and YouTube primarily. I have gotten into chess over the last year as a hobby, and so I'll be employing the kind of necessity angle that I described in the last section to read and watch chess in French, and to kind of learn chess through French. I'm also planning on streaming some of my immersion sessions on Twitch. So I have a Twitch channel, the link that I'll put in the description. And while I have been doing mostly challenge runs recently, I'm making a switch to start streaming some games in French, so streaming some of my immersion sessions. So if you want to check that out, please feel free to drop by. So this is an example of one stream that I did yesterday. I was playing through Skyward Sword in French. Typically, I'm going to try and do maybe 3 to 4 hour streams. That will be kind of the daily gaming immersion that I'll be doing. So if you want to come and immerse with me, please feel free to drop by. I'll also be trying to consume TV shows and films in French, mostly on Netflix, since I've got my Netflix set in French and I can use a VPN. It's really handy. So while I haven't had much progress to discuss over these last 3 months, I hope there's at least something of value that you can get out of this video. And like I say, The video for next month will be much more structured and it will be much more focused on the things that I have done. And I look forward to seeing you all again next month. Thank you all for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next month.